Don't worry, the dog might be coming, okay, guys? Okay, I know they got really disappointed when they just saw two guys walk out here, but...
Who's cuter, us or the dog, right?
Definitely Tuesday, I have to say. Look at that, come on, look at that face right there.
Oh, my God.
I would have loved to be there for that photo shoot. That would have been amazing.
You know, it is a little disappointing when you go around with a dog like Tuesday, because truly everybody wants to see him. Like, oh, yeah, thank you, Ellis. Where's Tuesday? Where's Tuesday?
Well, this is a tremendous book. I've gotten a chance to peek at it, and it's just an amazing tale about this veteran and the dog and the work that they did together. I mean, can you tell me when you first met Luis?
Sure. Well, when Luis first came back from Iraq, wins a Purple Heart, does 2 tours in Iraq, a very, you know, macho...
They called him Captain America.
Captain in the Army, exactly, Charles. He was really messed up. And he was living in Brooklyn in a small apartment with so much anxiety that literally he could not go outside. He had to call the neighborhood deli for food, and then he was too scared to meet the delivery guy when he came. He would throw the money down and have him leave the food. So that's the kind of shape he was in after he got back from his time in Iraq. And he was going nowhere. He was drinking too much. And through a veteran service organization, he was matched with Tuesday, a beautifully trained golden retriever service dog who had been through 2 years of painstaking training through an organization called ECAD. And Tuesday started out being trained in prison. Prisoners worked with him. And then he went with a family who made him comfortable, you know, going out in the streets and in local malls and getting used to kids and adults. And by the time Luis got him, he was just an amazing dog. And he really got Luis out of his shell, helped him calm his anxiety. And he had this amazing talent that he would know when Luis was about to have a meltdown or flip out about something. He would kind of come over and with his, Charles, with his hot breath and his gooey eyes, somehow or another, he was just able to get Luis to mellow out and get a grip again.
Yeah, and when was the first time that you met Luis and started working on this book
Well,
together?
he and I started working together after that period, so it was, I guess, 1.5 years ago, something like that. I mean, Luis had been traveling around America, he and Tuesday, never without Tuesday, and working with other veterans, agitating for the causes around PTSD. He worked with the Congress and the Senate to get a law passed about the VA and service dogs, and so he...
Senator Al Franken, he worked
Senator Al Franken.
with him on that, on
Yes.
the first bill that senator passed, and it's a tremendous bill, and that work is so important. When you first had that conversation with Luis, I mean, obviously, they had a first book that was wildly successful and New York Times bestseller.
Sure.
What were you guys' plans for this book? What did you guys want to do with this?
Well, the idea was that Luis, with the help of Tuesday, had been out wandering around the world on this mission, really, right? It wasn't a military mission anymore, but it was a mission that was just as important and that he and Tuesday took just as seriously. So I thought there was a great book in just describing the world through the eyes of this man and this dog and the people they met, the work they did, and frankly, highlight 2 things. One is the continuing challenge of PTSD, right? That so many, you know from your other work, Charles, so many of our vets are struggling with. And also to focus attention on the amazing talents of these dogs, right? This dog had helped Luis so much, and I believed that if we could spread that word around, we could help hundreds or thousands or maybe even more people the more we could spread that message. So those were really my 2 goals.
Yeah, I mean, June has been PTSD Awareness Month, and it's a very important issue to keep at the forefront, always. What was the effect that you saw between Tuesday and Luis when they were together, and the effect that Tuesday had on Luis when they were...
Other than the one that everyone wanting to meet Tuesday, thinking he was cuter? Yes. You know, there is something about a dog, and I don't know, maybe some of you guys can explain it better than I can, but there is something about the attachment that we as human beings have to canines. It makes us relax, it makes us feel comfortable and accepted. It brings down barriers. You can meet the tensest and most wired up person, and you put them with a dog, and all of a sudden they're going goo goo gaga. You know, I don't know. Maybe you guys know better than I do, but those animals just have some amazing talents, and we got to find other ways to use them.
Yeah. I mean, so what was the writing process like? I mean, were you interviewing him? Were you having conversations with him? I mean, what was the writing process between the two of you?
Yeah, we would meet up at, you know, every now and then. He was off wandering in America, and sometimes we would connect in one of the cities that they were in, and we'd sit down and talk. I mean, it's the same way I would do any piece of journalism, right? I get to know the subjects. I try to get inside their heads and really help them tell their story. Right? This isn't about me, really. It's really more me using my abilities as a writer and a storyteller to let the world know about these amazing creatures, and I mean Luis and Tuesday, what they were doing, and what impact that might have on other people.
Yeah, and you've written a couple of books before. You've helped people write books before. I mean, was there a lesson that you learned through this process that was completely new to you? I mean, what was this experience like, and how was it different than your past?
Well, I got to tell you, it was the first book I had done that involved a dog, right? Yeah. And the stuff that I learned really had a lot to do with that, which is about the relationship between human beings and dogs. And, you know, it goes way back into early history. You know, dogs have been part of our lives really almost as long as we've been here. And they have done all kind of stuff for us over the years. I came to believe that there's so much more that we're really not doing. For instance, service dogs are now working with kids with autism, with older folks in nursing homes, with people with all kinds of disabilities. You know, we always knew about seeing eye dogs, right? But it turns out these animals, if we can just figure out what to do with them, can do amazing stuff that we can't seem to do for each other. And that opened my eyes a lot, yeah.
I mean, being around Tuesday obviously opened Luis up quite a bit, but I'm sure some of the stuff that you had to talk about was a little difficult. Was there one story that was particularly difficult for him to discuss, or one story that you knew was going to make it into the book because it was such a crucial moment for him?
Well, yes, there was. In the time that we were working together, Luis was having some mobility problems, right? He had injured himself in his service. And
he was ambushed, right?
He had a bad ambush in Iraq, and a second injury that exacerbated that. And he made what was a very painful decision that others had been through before, but to have his leg amputated. And
this is years after he's out.
This is years after he's out, but these injuries, they don't go away just because you're home. And so with Tuesday, he went through that process, making that decision, talking with the doctors and the psychologists about it, and going through that, and then the process of rehabbing, of learning to walk with a prosthetic leg. And I was around for all of that, and those were some pretty wrenching decisions. And I got to tell you, Charles, looking back on it now, there were, I think, things going on inside Luis's head that none of us really were fully aware of at the time.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's a reason that Luis is not here with us today. He took his own life. That's the word out there. Can you explain a little bit about knowing the man and finding out that news?
Yes, it's. I got to tell you, I am still, kicking myself a little bit, asking God, was there something I should have seen? Was there something that I should have been aware of going on? Luis and I spent a lot of time together, and we had a lot of very, as you would working on someone with a book like this, a lot of pretty intimate conversations. And I understood that he still had a lot of issues in his life. And he did. I mean, he was, he's a pretty tightly wound guy. But I never picked up any sense that he was likely to do harm to himself. And sadly, after Thanksgiving, he was in El Paso, Texas, and took an overdose of drugs there and took his own life. Oddly, and this is something that I also look back on, Tuesday was not with him. And I have wondered many times since then whether he'd have been able to do that if Tuesday were there. Their bond was so close, and Tuesday was so keyed into Luis and his issues. And he did not let any of his friends, not the dog trainers at ECAD, not the other people, know that he was without Tuesday at that time, because that would have rung some alarm bells, I think.
Right, and he just wasn't able to take care of Tuesday. That was the reason he didn't bring him along. Is that
Yeah, he asked some friends to said, I got to take care of some business. Can you watch Tuesday for a little bit? And they didn't know. They were just trying to be nice. Yeah. But here's what I think about it. Really, I think we lost a great warrior, and I don't just mean a military warrior. I mean a fighter for important causes. But those of us who remain, and I consider myself part of that circle, and God knows Tuesday is part of that circle, and I want to invite all of you guys into it, need to spread the message that he devoted the final 7 years of his life to, which is that these are tough issues. As a society, we've got to deal with them, but there are some tools out there that can help us, and I want to spread that around.
There are incredible programs out there to get animals like Tuesday with these veterans. I'm sure now that the book has come out, now that you're the author of this book, you've been receiving some word from people who've had their lives changed. Can you share some of the reaction?
Man, I mean, he and they. I always have to say they, because Luis did almost none of this by himself. Right. Just dealt with people in tremendous distress. And I'm talking about, a Marine in California who was about to get a dishonorable discharge because of his erratic behavior with PTSD. And they came in and convinced the commanding officer, no, this isn't right. Let us explain to us what's going on here. And he comes out with an honorable discharge. And case after case like that, some going back into the early days. He and Tuesday meet a man who is a Tuskegee Airman. Do you know that group? The Flying Aces, African-American soldiers. I mean, real heroes who were really struggling as an older man. And just the attention and love that Tuesday is able to give really got that guy out of his shell. And then they're in there battling with the bureaucrats at the VA, and as you say, testifying in front of Congress and going on the Letterman show. I mean, they really spread this message around.
It's a tremendous clip. I recommend everybody watch the Letterman interview with Luis and Tuesday.
Yeah. Well, Dave was a big dog guy, as you know, so I think Tuesday kind of won him over.
So what's the plan now? I mean, now that you have this great initiative, obviously you're inspired yourself. Just keep on going around with Tuesday, spreading this word. I'm sure that's...
Well, you're part of it.
Yeah.
You're part of it, man. I mean, it's to let people know, to talk about these issues in a way that people could connect with them. Because, you start talking about psychological stuff, and people sometimes are a little, that sounds kind of dark. But this animal and others like him have an ability to get inside people. Yeah. And I just think we need to spread that message and use those tools. And we have a responsibility to these men and women who put their own lives on the line for us. And you know what? When we have them back home, we got to make sure they're doing well. Yeah. And anything that works, I'm in favor of.
Well, talking about part of it, I think we have somebody who's part of it right here. I think we have Tuesday himself.
Tuesday!
Let's bring him up here.
Oh, my God.
Come on, you can give a gentle round of applause.
Oh, you can clap. You can clap.
Yeah, okay, there
hey,
we
boy.
Go. Hey,
this is John, who works with ECAD, the group. And here's Tuesday. Say hello to Charles, Tuesday.
Tuesday, you want to say hello to me?
Hey, boy.
No,
hey, boy. Hey, boy.
They have a better bond, obviously. That's obviously clear. So, John, let's talk a little bit about the facility and what it takes to train these dogs.
What do you have to do to train one of these dogs?
Service dogs like Tuesday, he can do anything from fetching a leg for an amputee, pulling clothes out of a washing machine or a dryer. With Luis, he would always wake Luis up during the middle of the night when Luis was having an episode.
Tuesday wants to go explore.
Boy.
Yeah, I mean, so they can have this apartment set up so that Tuesday can basically help with any task from opening up a refrigerator and getting water and that sort of thing. I mean, how often are you with the dogs? I mean, how long are these days?
Well, as a volunteer, I'm a home handler, so we often bring a dog home for a weekend, and we help them just from like doing basic commands such as sitting and staying. But we've had a dog for as long as like a week or two, just to go over the basics.
Can I mention one thing? One of the really important parts of this entire process are families like John's, right? People, just normal, decent, good people who are willing to help in the training of these dogs. And, you know, it's tough in a way because you get to know the dog and you love the dog, and then sometimes the dog has to go off and, go do his service. And so it's almost like having a foster kid in a way. But let me tell you, the system does not work unless we have those families out there who are willing to open their hearts and open their homes to animals like Tuesday.
Yeah, and I think, you know, there's an intuition that comes with these dogs as well. They're able to pick up on how someone is feeling. I mean, is that something that just comes innately, or is that something you help train to sort of notice when someone is being closed off, or?
I think it's a little bit of both, to be honest.
Yeah.
For example, if I'm feeling sad, Tuesday will come over and he'll just sit on my feet, or he'll just come on my lap and give me a hug. But it's a little bit of both, to be honest.
Yeah, and you know, is there a particular breed that is specially equipped to? I mean, obviously Tuesday is a golden retriever, but okay, Tuesday feels someone feeling a little down out there, so Tuesday's going to do some work. Okay. Always on the clock. Always on the clock.
That's really funny.
But to answer your question, I think it's Goldens and Labs that I feel build like a stronger connection with their owner.
Yeah. And for people who want to help, for people who want to support these kind of programs, I mean, obviously ECAD's an amazing facility doing this. I mean, how can people find you guys?
Well, you can go to ecad1.org. There's always donations on Amazon. You can go to Amazon Smile, and there should be a link to donate to ECAD. So with whatever purchase you do, I think it's about $1 that goes to help ECAD.
Yeah, and there are similar groups, we should say, around the country and around the world doing this.
Pets
is
for
one.
Vets
ECAD mostly in the Northeast, and you know, the one that we know the best and does terrific work. But wherever you are, the need is there. Good people are there trying to help out, and certainly, Charles, anything folks are up for doing is most welcome. Yeah.
And what's Tuesday's job right now? What's Tuesday's gig like? 9 to 5, or?
He's chilling now, right?
Tuesday is actually a representative for ECAD now. He's used as an emotional therapy dog, but he still helps with mobility, balance, and PTSD wherever he's needed. One thing that I would like to point out, though, is after Luis took his own life, Tuesday has another tag with a picture of him and Luis on it.
Oh, wow.
And
that's beautiful. I'm not sure if we can get it. Maybe right there. Yeah. It's a beautiful tag, a photo of Luis and Tuesday.
Tuesday Montalván.
Yeah.
If lost, 1-800-HEAVEN.
Yeah. Oh, Lord. You know, a lot of people have asked, how is Tuesday doing after Luis's passing? Right. And, you know, I was worried about that. And Tuesday's trainer, Lou Picard, who is a brilliant dog trainer, explained it to me best. And she said, listen, dogs have different kinds of memories than humans do. You know, that Tuesday noticed that Luis wasn't there, but that, you know, dogs just don't think in the past in the same way that human beings do. I remember asking Luis, what's Tuesday's favorite place to go? And he said, well, that's easy. I said, what do you mean? He said, the place we're going next. You know, dogs look to the present and to the future, but not so much to the past, which in a funny way may be a blessing here.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, because he's not really depressed. Doesn't he look? I mean, he looks great, right?
He's doing his work. He's sensing people out there. So how many dogs do you guys have now at the facility, and you know, how many are you able to train at a certain time?
Actually, ECAD recently had a new litter of 12 puppies, so they're in the midst of starting to train those, and I think there's maybe about 13 dogs that are about a year, maybe a little bit older.
Yeah. You have no idea how much work that is.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, try having one, right?
From bathing them every day, feeding.
Okay, well, next time you'll bring the puppies, okay? No offense, Tuesday. Beautiful. I think we have some questions out of the audience.
Oh, great.
We're going to start right there.
Hi. With a book like this and a topic like this, what was the editing process like, and how did you decide what to keep?
What to
Keep.
To keep. The editing process, honestly, was pretty similar to other books. I mean, you know, we try to tell this story in a way that is just very human and accessible. You know, as if we're just sitting around talking, kind of like this. We're just sitting around talking. And so the editors at Hachette, which is a terrific publisher who published the book, I think really got that, and they really just wanted it to have a nice human voice. And, you know, they really didn't cut out too much. So as a writer, I was pretty happy with it.
Fantastic. Another question right there.
Hi. So I was just wondering, like, what your biggest piece of either information or advice would be to people who still might be skeptical to the fact that, like, these animals are just so special and just show unconditional love. Like, what would you say to them about like how special they really are and can be for people?
Yeah, the best advertisement I've got for that is meeting one of the dogs. You know, if you have a chance to approach a service dog, now don't just run over. If you see someone with a service dog, don't just go over and start petting them. And
Do not
you know, this
pet.
dog is working. But by having a conversation with someone who has had the experience, and once you get comfortable, they may well introduce you to the dog.
Yeah.
But to me, you know, experts can talk about it all day long. Yeah. But look into the face of one of these animals and, you know, you tell me.
There's your explanation right there.
I mean,
exactly.
they just have this, it's funny, as a writer, I struggle to put that in words because it's kind of hard to explain.
Yeah, absolutely. We have one more question.
Hi, I volunteer with the local guide dog foundation, and I was wondering if you could tell people how they could help out.
Yes, a whole bunch of different ways. I mean, all of these organizations, and I'm sure it's true of the guide dog group that you work with, you know, all do need financial assistance, you know, that nobody's getting rich on this. In many cases, the service members and other clients, you know, they don't pay anything for the dogs. They do have to keep the dog well and make sure that they can afford to maintain the dog and treat the dog well. But volunteering is great, donations are great, talking up the issue, read the book.
Exactly.
I mean, that'll give you a really good, you know, one-stop version of why this stuff matters and how it helps and what it did for one guy and one animal who were really struggling with some great stuff, who went on and lived a truly productive life.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, guys, pick up Tuesday's Promise. And one more round of applause for Ellis, John from ECAT, and Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yeah, there you go,
All right,
Tuesday.
go ahead.
Take a bow.